We are moving in the right direction. In 2017, the government published its first statutory walking and cycling investment strategy. The strategy aims to double cycling activity, increase walking to 300 stages per person per year, already met, increase the percentage of children aged 5 to 10 that usually walk to school to 55% by 2025, and make walking and cycling the natural choice for all shorter journeys or as part of a longer journey by 2040. In setting its challenge to decarbonise the transport system, we're very pleased that government is viewing all modes of transport together, not in individual silos. We welcome its strategic priority to accelerate modal shift to active and public transport so that walking and cycling or using public transport is people's natural first choice for daily journeys. We know this requires not just a transport solution. COVID-19 has shown the powerful role of technology, enabling people to work from home and reducing their need to travel. Smartphones and the sharing of mobile data are key to the development of a mobility as a service, mass platforms offering scope to integrate timetables and ticketing across all modes. More about this later. But we mustn't lose sight of the basics. Let's start by looking at travel behaviour. This graph shows you that almost 80% of journeys under a mile are walked irrespective of where you live or if the household owns a car. This means if the places people want to get to as part of their daily activities are conveniently located, they will walk. As distances increase, more people jump into their cars. Just 31% of trips of 1 to 2 miles are walked and 67% are by car, van, as driver or passenger, increasing to 71% for journeys of 2 to 5 miles. Journeys of 1 to 2 miles are still very walkable, and this is an easy cycle distance, but streets may feel less convenient, safe or attractive. Why is this important? Transport is now the largest contributor to UK domestic greenhouse gas emissions, contributing 28% of UK domestic emissions in 2018. Walking is the ultimate zero carbon travel mode, requiring no specialist equipment and having no barriers to entry. Car ownership varies across urban and rural areas. In London, over 40% of households do not own a car or van. Outside London, over a third of households in urban conurbations do not own a car or van, falling to a quarter of households in rural towns and 7% in rural villages. The national average is a quarter of households with no car or van. The need for a car in rural areas is accounted for by poor public transport networks. But if we look at local bus use across the urban-rural divide, it is remarkably low in urban areas too. Walking remains fairly consistent, dropping off slightly in rural villages where there are fewer facilities. A convenient, cost-effective and coherent public transport network, in particular buses, needs space. It's generally accepted that cars are parked at least 92% of the time and typically about 96% of the time, with many privately owned vehicles occupying public highway. Remember that more than a third of households have no off-street parking and 35% of households in England own 2 or more cars or vans. We should be talking about how we use our finite road space in built-up areas for active and sustainable modes of transport. COVID-19 has shown what can be done in a very short space of time to allocate road space for walking and cycling. The virus hasn't gone away, and we still need that space. Businesses are reopening, cafes, pubs, restaurants will soon be serving food and drink indoors, but social distancing means that tables and chairs may have moved outside, placing more demand on roadside space. People should be able to walk and cycle safely, and diners prefer quieter, less polluted streets. The decarbonising transport strategy asks a number of questions. How can we use vehicles differently? How can new technologies and business models help to facilitate modal shift? How can government and others support behavioural changes through infrastructure and encouraging those forms of travel? We believe government should clearly define the transport outcomes that it wants to achieve through mass. A good starting point would be to put walking in the picture. The ability of mass platforms to offer wider choice and encourage active and sustainable modes of transport will depend on several key factors, such as the availability of public transport, its costs, the predictability of journey times, i.e. the ability to reliably plan your journey, congestion, which affects journey reliability or propensity to walk or cycle, and air quality. Therefore, government interventions such as reducing road space for private car journeys and allocating more space for active and sustainable transport, subsidising the cost of public transport alongside behaviour change campaigns, can help to encourage these forms of transport. Transport schemes should be assessed against their contribution to wider public policy goals, in particular the reduction of carbon emissions and benefit to public health, to reflect a broader definition of value for money. Road transport policies need to move beyond predicting and providing capacity for privatised motor vehicles to decide to provide the road space and the investment for active travel. Our Walk to School outreach program shows how investing in active travel delivers a strong return on investment. The project shows 38% increase in walking to school in new participant schools and a sustained change from schools already participating, with a benefit cost ratio of 10. There's an elephant in the room: planning. And this is an example of how not to do it. Instead of relying on a technological fix to our transport problems, for example, mass, automated vehicles or micro-mobility, e-scooters are a whole other topic, we should be using our planning system more effectively. Master plans developed by professionals and local people can help produce high-quality development and the revival of places. Master plans provide key evidence on how development can be practically delivered and illustrate what it could look like to support policies contained within local planning documents. Unfortunately, local authority planning teams are for the most part under pressure to grant permission for housing development, understaffed and undermined by constant reforms of the planning system. Travel is an important aspect of our everyday activities, and our daily habits are often dependent on the transport available to us. But the trips we make depend on where we need or want to travel to. Planning for land use and transport can mean that shops and services, education and employment opportunities are all within easy reach, reducing the need to travel longer distances, making walking and cycling the convenient option to post a parcel, go for a haircut, travel to school or go to work. Changes can start a neighbourhood at a time. Slower speeds to 20 miles per hour, using bollards and planters to create modal filters, parklets, school streets and width restrictions. These are all measures that can or have been deployed in response to COVID-19 and which put together create low traffic neighbourhoods where children can play outside, people are able to cross the street easier and air pollution is reduced, and walking and cycling become the natural first choice for everyday journeys. Thank you.